Here's the almost finished product. And I say almost finished because there's always something else I come up with that I want to add at a later time. It's about 40 degrees right now, so my little chickadees are still hanging out inside. They're not ready to come out. When you're building your coop or designing your coop, or maybe you're going to buy a coop, there's a lot to consider. Things like how many birds am I going to have? Where is it going to be positioned in my yard? How do I want to be able to clean it? Do I want to be able to get inside my run? Do I want to be able to do everything from the outside and never have to go in there? Where I live, there's laws governing how many chickens we can have and in what part of the yard they can be positioned. So I called the local ag extension office, and they make you take a course which is taught by the University of Florida. So they send a professor over. She teaches about a 3-hour course that teaches you about chickens, the different laws that you're going to have to abide by in the city where I live, and then you get a certificate that tells you you're legit and you can have chickens in your yard now. Back to the design. You hear that? I had to think about predators. I've got 2 owls, barred owls, that live above my backyard. They're here every single day. Barred owls are pretty good size. I've never heard of them eating chickens, but I'm sure they could eat my chicks. My chicks are only 4 weeks old. So what I've done is I've used 1/2-inch hardware cloth and sealed off every single bit of my coop's run. And then in the ground, I've dug down about 1 foot deep and 1 foot out and lined that with chicken wire. On top of that, I've got some oyster shells that run around the outside to deter anything that might start digging in that area. So I'm pretty certain that nothing's going to be able to get inside my coop. So predators is a concern. Like I said, I've got barred owls above my house. I've got foxes in my neighborhood. We've got raccoons, possums, snakes, hawks, eagles. I don't know that an osprey would eat a chicken, but I live real close to a river, so there's ospreys nearby. I probably missed a predator or two, but like I said, we've got a lot of predators in the area, so I wanted to make sure my chickens are going to be safe. Another thing, we have hurricanes here in Florida, so I want my chicken coop to be secure enough to where it's not going to blow over. My run's going to be secure. You know, everything's structurally sound, so my chickens are safe inside. These windows I built out of plexiglass, so they're virtually unbreakable. Again, it was an afterthought. I thought I was done with my coop. I was going to buy some windows online, but after going to the hardware store and looking online, windows are pretty expensive, and I had limited space where I could put them, so I needed a certain size window. So like I said, I bought plexiglass from the hardware store. It was just a sheet, it's like 8 by 10, and then I cut it lengthwise in half. So these windows are like 4 inches high by 10 inches in width, almost. And then I used some old trim material that I had laying around, made a frame and siliconed it in, screwed it into the wall, and I used a jigsaw just to cut out the hole. I built the frame of my coop using 2x3s, and then I just used plywood for the outside. My coop floor is 4x6 and the walls are 4x6, and then I don't know the exact dimensions of my roof here, but I used the Ondura roofing panels. Initially I was going to go with some either corrugated plastic or corrugated tin, but while at the hardware store I added it all up, and it really wasn't much difference in price if I were to have gone with some new pieces of corrugated tin and then the hardware associated. It's a little bit more costly, but it looks nice and I'm really happy with it. You can see I also have rain gutters. The rain gutters I built out of a piece of 2-inch PVC that I cut in half with a jigsaw, and they run over to a 55-gallon drum on the back side of the coop that then feeds an underground hose which comes up inside the run and feeds those little red watering cups. I've got an extension cord running from the house. It then powers the camera that I have inside my camera. It's a Wi-Fi camera, so the distance I am away from my house, I guess I'm about 70 feet or so. Wi-Fi is able to get out here and I can access my camera from anywhere and see what my chickens are doing on the inside. Another thing I have in there, my chickens are only 4 weeks old, so I've got a brooder, like a heat lamp inside, and then I've got a meat thermometer for grilling out. So if you got a smoker or something and you want a little remote thermometer, this is the little thermometer gadget that I can turn it on. I can actually be up at the house and monitor my temperature inside my coop. So just things to think about when you're designing your coop. There's a lot that goes into it, a lot you're going to want to consider before you just jump and get something or before you start building. With my coop, I'll show you, I started out in the garage. I virtually built everything in the garage before I took it out here. We had a bunch of rain for about a week straight, and that got me cooped up inside, but that enabled me to spend some time really thinking out how I wanted to design it. I'll walk you around the coop and we'll show you a couple things that I did and maybe talk about why I did them and maybe some things I'm going to add on to it. My run is about 5 feet tall, about the same in width, and it's about 18 feet in length. It's 12 feet outside of the coop, and underneath the coop it's another 6 feet, so we got 18 feet in its entirety. The door I built is about 22 or 24 inches in width. I can carry a Tupperware bin through it sideways. I got a package of hardware, came with the handle, this latch, and some spring-loaded hinges. Spring-loaded hinges were a must, therefore when I leave, if I forget to close the coop door, you can see it closes almost in its entirety right behind me, and then my chickens can't go running around the neighborhood. Another thing I've added to my run as an afterthought is some corrugated clear plastic roof panels that I got from the hardware store. The reason I did that is because I live in Florida, figured it's going to get a lot of rain out here and I don't want my chickens to be soaked all the time or having to hang out underneath just a little area of the coop. Also, my feeder's hanging inside my run, so I figured that would help with keeping the feed as dry as it can be. Now, I made a video about my hanging feeder, which you can check out. It's virtually waterproof, but any kind of splash up from the ground might affect it, might get in there. But I feel pretty confident that what I've got here with this roof covering it is going to keep all the moisture out of the feed. Starting on the outside and moving in, you'll see I bordered the coop with oyster shell. I've also done that on the inside. The way I did this is I started by digging down about 6 inches deep, and I filled about 3 inches of sand, another 2 or 3 inches of oyster shell, and then on top of that I put some crushed oyster shell. This section lasts for about 8 feet, and then I've got a little barrier of wood that then goes to regular dirt. I've got a hanging feeder inside the run. The thing I like about the hanging feeder is that I can adjust its height depending on how old my chickens are, and if I needed to put it underneath the coop, I could do that easily. My chicken ramp, I've got it rigged with a little eyelet bolt on the bottom here and a hook at the top, so if I need to be cleaning anything out or working in here, I can just hook it up in the overhead and not worry about it. Watering cups fed by the 55-gallon drum are just those little watering cups, kind of look like flowers. And then the reason I have these steps here are because my chickens are kind of small, so they need to be able to access them. Let me close this and I'll show you my door. The door I use is a chickenguard Extreme, and the reason I got it is because, well, a couple reasons I got it. I just push the button down twice, once to turn it on, once to make it go down. When it gets to the bottom position, these locking mechanisms come out. That thing right there is one on either side. They come out and lock it in place, so any kind of animals can't crawl up in there or push it up if they're smart enough to do so. To bring it back up, you just push the up button, oops, turn it on, the up button, and it's going to raise back up. Some of the reasons I wanted the chickenguard Extreme is because you can have it open just by the sun coming up and the sun going down. There's a light sensor on there, or you can set it on a timer. So let's say maybe it's really cloudy in your area, or you know you're going to have a next few days just going to be totally cloudy, so it's not really going to know whether or not the sun came up and your chickens want to come out. You can go ahead and set a timer, or set the time to come up at say 7 o'clock in the morning and then go down at 6 at night, or whatever the case may be. Again, the chicken box was probably about the most difficult part of my build, but I think it came together nicely. I used the Ondura roofing panel left over from the roof, and underneath it I have the same thing as I did for the roof, a piece of tarp material that protects the wood that's on the, well, this part of the wood from any rain that might seep back behind here, and then it'll just come off the end and roll off. We've got 3 boxes on the inside. These inserts can slide out. Right now they slide out from the inside, so I might have to do something about that, but currently my chickens are too young to lay, so I don't have to worry about it. On the back of my coop I have a access door for my clean out tray. Clean out tray is about 4 feet wide by 6 feet long. It's less than that, it's not exact, but it's kind of odd to deal with, or awkward to deal with, but it's not too bad. And I've got about a 2 foot by 2 foot door, which I can get inside. I can change the water, change the feed, access the birds. You know, I can climb in there if I need to adjust something. And right up here in the roof, I've got a camera, a Wi-Fi enabled camera that feeds through the Wi-Fi in the house, and I can watch my birds from anywhere. Hey, Chicky, come here. This one is just the absolute sweetest. The rain gutters drain through the piece of PVC, through this screen, down into my 55-gallon drum. The screen's easily accessible. I just pull up the PVC and clean out any debris. If anything gets past the screens that I have inside the gutters, hopefully it's caught by this last screen right here. And inside my coop, you can see my chickens have one hanging feeder and one hanging waterer. And then up in the top back corner over there, that is a Wi-Fi enabled camera, and I'll put a link in the description. As bedding, I'm using pine shavings, so my tray that the bedding's on is about 2 inches deep, so I've got about 2 inches worth of pine shavings in there. My chickens haven't complained yet. That's about it with the coop build. Let me know what you think about it. If you got any comments, leave them below. Got any questions, certainly ask. I'm happy to let you know where I got my different materials and why I did something, or maybe why I didn't do something. If you've got any suggestions, by all means, send them my way.